Who are the people you've spoken to? Where have you got the inside information from in order to write the book?
Well, normally from people who don't like Meghan Markle, because she made it pretty clear to all her friends and people who work for her not to talk to me. So it was quite an uphill struggle. But I found enough people, more than enough, nearly 80 people to talk.
But if we know that they don't like her, why are they going to be offering an unbiased account of their experience?
I understand. Well, because I sift it through. I don't put in stuff which isn't true and can't be checked. And also, you know, I had some admiration for Meghan. She succeeded quite well in her life and her ambitions. So I was able to balance it all. I mean, her victims or her enemies give one version, and then I can balance it pretty well.
What were the revelations that, for you, sort of stood out the most? Because obviously, you know, you approach this. There are going to be bits you know about, bits you want to dig into. Was there a particular part of it that you thought, actually, I wasn't expecting that? Well,
there's a whole story about her attitude to people she works with, especially in a photo shoot about Reitman's, a sort of Marks and Spencer's chain store in Canada, where the experience for all the 80 crew was just horrendous. And there was an agent who told, two agents who told horrible stories about her bullying and her oppression. That was really quite a revelation. Her father finally opened up quite a lot about the relationship between himself and her mother.
Did you speak to him directly?
I went to Mexico for 2 days, and it was fascinating. And there were people in Hollywood...
Is she?
Not at all, but I mean, the point is, I think you're wrong when you say she was a famous actress. She wasn't. She was a third-rate...
She was? No, that's not true.
But Suits was watched by 1 million people.
Yeah, that's not true.
Since opera, there has been quite a reduction in her following.
A hearty welcome to all our viewers at the Sussex Ambassador channel. Today, we're diving into an intriguing narrative surrounding a certain Tom Bower and his seemingly relentless fascination with Harry and Meghan. We'll be dissecting his actions, his words, and his paradoxical anticipation for the 2027 Invictus Games. If you enjoy our content and crave more insightful discussions like this, do consider subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's delve into the heart of the matter. Tom Bower, a name we've come to associate with a peculiar fascination for Harry and Meghan. A fascination that has twisted itself into an obsession, one that seems to know no bounds. We've seen Bower's relentless scrutiny of the Sussexes, his watchful eyes always keen to dissect their every move, his tongue eager to voice his often uninvited opinions. This is a man who has made a career out of his fixation. He's taken every opportunity to criticize Harry and Meghan, to paint them with the broad strokes of his own biased narrative. His comments are frequent and they are rarely constructive. More often than not, they are laced with negativity, a reflection perhaps of his own preoccupations, rather than any true insight into the lives of the Sussexes. And yet, it's not just the frequency of his comments that's alarming, it's their content. Bower seems to be on a mission to tarnish the image of Harry and Meghan at every turn. His words often border on character assassination, a relentless pursuit to undermine their credibility and their status. You would think that such a man would be content to watch from afar, to revel in the shadows of his own judgment. But no. Bower's obsession with Harry and Meghan is not just a passive spectator sport. It's an active engagement, a pursuit that seems to energize him, to fuel his need for relevance in a world that's moved on. And now, as we look ahead to the Invictus Games of 2027, set to take place in Birmingham, we see Bower's anticipation building. He's like a child waiting for Christmas, his eagerness palpable. It's a strange contradiction, isn't it? This man who has spent so much time criticizing Harry and Meghan now can't seem to wait for their return to the UK. Clearly, Bower's obsession with Harry and Meghan has taken a turn for the extreme. Let's take a moment to reflect on Bower's accusation that Meghan is poisonous. A claim as audacious as it is unfounded. It's rather ironic, isn't it? The very man who weaves tales of poison and deceit is himself guilty of spreading venomous words. Bower's statements about Meghan are riddled with contradictions and an apparent bias. He has been unrelenting in his pursuit to paint her in a negative light, ignoring the countless ways she has proven herself to be anything but poisonous. Meghan is a woman of strength, resilience, and determination. Her contributions to society are palpable. She's used her platform to advocate for gender equality, mental health awareness, and the rights of the underprivileged. Meghan's work with various charities and her role as a UN women's advocate are testament to her commitment to social change. And let's not forget her dedication to the Invictus Games, an international sporting event for wounded, injured, and sick servicemen and women. A project close to her heart, it highlights her compassion and drive to uplift those who have sacrificed so much. Bower's claims of Meghan being poisonous are not only baseless, but also grossly unfair. His words are a clear reflection of his own prejudice, not of Meghan's character. It's important to remember that Meghan is a human being, subjected to intense public scrutiny. Yet she continues to rise above the criticism, demonstrating grace under pressure and a strong work ethic. The narrative that Bauer and his ilk have tried to weave around Meghan is nothing more than a collection of distortions and half-truths. It's a tale told by those who refuse to see Meghan for who she truly is, a woman of substance, of compassion, and of integrity. In the end, it is not Meghan who is poisonous. It is the words of Bauer, laden with bias and untruths. It is Bauer's words, not Meghan, that hold a poisonous tone. Moving on, let's tackle the hypocrisy of Tom Bauer's anticipation of the 2027 Invictus Games. It's an intriguing paradox, isn't it? On one hand, Bauer paints Meghan in the darkest hues, yet on the other, he eagerly anticipates her presence at an event. It's as if he's a moth drawn to the flame, unable to resist the allure of the very person he criticizes so vehemently. Let's ponder this for a moment. The 2027 Invictus Games are set to take place in Birmingham, and Bauer seems to be on tenterhooks, hoping that Meghan will grace the event. It's a peculiar situation, to say the least. Here we have a man who has spent a considerable amount of time and energy painting Meghan as a pariah, yet he can't seem to contain his excitement at the thought of her being part of the Invictus Games 7 years from now. It's remarkable how he manages to keep a straight face while expressing this anticipation. It's almost as if he's forgotten his own past statements, the harsh words he's used to describe Meghan. And yet, he's looking forward to seeing her at an event that's still years away. The irony is hard to miss. It's as if Bauer is standing at the edge of a cliff, denouncing the very ground he's standing on, yet eagerly awaiting the sunrise from the same spot. It's a paradox, a contradiction, a hypocrisy of the highest order. One can't help but wonder what motivates such behavior. Is it the thrill of the chase, the excitement of the hunt, or perhaps the allure of controversy? Whatever it may be, it's clear that Bauer is a man of contradictions, a man who can't seem to decide whether he's a critic or a fan. In conclusion, Bauer's eagerness for the 2027 Invictus Games, despite his constant criticism of Meghan, is a blatant display of hypocrisy. His words and actions are at odds, painting a picture of a man who is more interested in controversy than truth. Bauer's anticipation is nothing short of hypocritical. Let's not forget Bauer's disturbing alliance with Thomas Markle. The same Thomas Markle who has consistently attacked his daughter Meghan, selling stories about her to the highest bidder. The same Thomas Markle who has shown little regard for his daughter's well-being and privacy. Tom Bauer, however, found it fitting to side with him. But why? Why would Bauer stand shoulder to shoulder with a man who has caused such distress to his own flesh and blood? It doesn't add up, does it? Unless, of course, there's a common agenda. An agenda to undermine Meghan, to discredit her, to tarnish her reputation. Bauer's support for Thomas Markle is not about fairness. It's not about truth. It's about bias. It's about choosing a side that feeds into his narrative, a narrative that paints Meghan as the villain, while conveniently ignoring the destructive actions of others. Such an alliance is not only disturbing, but also revealing. It unveils Bauer's true colours, his inability to be objective, and his propensity to support those who attack Meghan, regardless of the validity of their claims. In siding with Thomas Markle, Bauer has shown us where his loyalties lie. They do not lie with the truth or with the pursuit of fairness. They lie with those who strive to tarnish Meghan's image, to belittle her achievements, to cast her as the antagonist in a narrative that is far from fair or balanced. This alliance is more than just a friendship between two men. It's a reflection of Bauer's biased stance, a stance that is devoid of fairness, devoid of integrity. A stance that is willing to support those who harm others, as long as it feeds into his narrative. In conclusion, Bauer's support for Thomas Markle is more than just disturbing. It's a clear indication of his bias. A bias that is willing to ignore the truth in favour of a more convenient narrative. A narrative that paints Meghan as the villain while ignoring the destructive actions of others. A narrative that is as unfair as it is untrue. Bauer's support for Markle is a clear indication of his bias. In conclusion, Tom Bauer's obsession with Harry and Meghan is as baffling as it is unjust. We've delved into the depths of his fixation on the couple, a preoccupation that seemingly knows no bounds. His persistent scrutiny during the 2025 Invictus Games, his quickness to label Meghan as poisonous, and his anticipatory excitement for the 2027 Games in Birmingham, despite his continuous negative portrayal of Meghan, all point to a man driven by an agenda rather than objectivity. We also discussed the curious case of his defence of Thomas Markle, a man who has consistently launched public attacks against his own daughter. Bauer's willingness to side with a man who has shown little regard for his daughter's well-being further underscores the misguided nature of his critiques. These actions paint a picture of a man more interested in stirring controversy than in delivering fair and balanced commentary. Yet, it's important to remember that we are all entitled to form our own opinions, and it's crucial to base these opinions on facts rather than sensationalism. In a world where the lines between fact and fiction are increasingly blurred, let's not allow ourselves to be swayed by the likes of Tom Bauer. Let's strive for truth, fairness, and understanding in all our discussions. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Farewell from Sussex Ambassador.